Welcome to the Authorpreneur podcast, where we talk to authors and business owners about how they are using books to market themselves and their businesses. I'm your host, Chris Green, and in each episode of the Authorpreneur podcast, we talk to a successful author and business owner to see exactly how they are using their books and author status to grow their businesses and serve their customers. We'll talk about what's working, the benefits of becoming a published author, and we may even come up with some creative new marketing strategies. In this episode of the Authorpreneur podcast, I talk with Jason Wolbers, the author of The Power of a Positive Mindset. Starting at a young age, Jason learned how important it was to have a positive mindset in his personal and business life. He's been in direct sales his entire life and started as a sales rep at the age of 18, fresh out of high school. Despite his age, he was the number one salesperson in his company with around 150 representatives for 2 years at the ages of 19 and 20. He was consistently outselling people who had been in the industry for 5, 10, 15, even some of them over 20 years. Some of them were more than twice his age. Why did he outsell people with far more sales ability and knowledge? It was because he took the time to learn and develop success principles and was disciplined in living by what he was learning. Jason has always believed that champions are made behind the scenes, not in the limelight. He was willing to do what most people wouldn't and constantly studied sales, psychology, and personal development. Jason has compiled his knowledge and wisdom into his best-selling book, The Power of a Positive Mindset. In this episode, Jason and I discuss personal development, motivation, imposter syndrome, and overcoming self-doubt. If you're interested in learning more about how Jason has leveraged his book into his business, including motivational speaking engagements, then you're really going to enjoy this episode. All right, Jason, thanks so much for joining us here on the Authorpreneur podcast. I'm excited to talk to you about your books. We'll probably talk a little bit about my books as well, because it's kind of the publishing thing that we have in common. And specifically, the idea for the Authorpreneur podcast is how people can use books for their business or use it for their personal brand. And something that kind of commonly comes up is I talk to people who are like, well, I want to make money with my book. And I was like, well, you'll make money with your book, but you might not make money like on your book. So I don't know what your experience is. So give me a little super overview background of like kind of why you published your first book, because, and I'll give you a big compliment right here at the front. Power of a Positive Mindset it sounds kind of like a common search term, but if you put that search term into Amazon, you are the number one result for that search. Did you know that? When was the last time you searched for your own book? It was like, wait a minute, I got the number one bestseller badge on the top of the Amazon listings.
Yeah, I search for that a lot because with Amazon, as you well know, you have to look it up. You don't get notified when you hit bestseller that hour or two. And so I'm not sitting there looking it up like nonstop either, but I look it up a few times a day to see if I got the badge for sure. Absolutely.
You take a screenshot of it, right? So that you can use that for marketing?
I absolutely do, yeah. That ebook, the ebook of The Power of a Positive Mindset, has been bestseller a lot. I mean, a ton. Like this week, every single day. It's crazy.
Now, is that just kind of, it's been gaining traction for a long time, or are you like actively doing things to promote it and drive traffic to it?
I've actively promoted it since I published it on June 28th of 2023, just last year. I've actively done what I can. But, when you first self-publish, you don't really know what to do. So you just kind of learn as you go. So I just kept researching it. Google's a wonderful search engine, by the way, isn't it? You can learn a lot from it. But I learned a ton from it. And I just kept learning and learning and learning. And I do a lot of Instagram advertising with people that are like book reviewers. Okay, like Nick Hutchison, right? We both have him in common, correct?
Sure.
Yeah, I used him and many, many others. I'm talking, I've probably done 100 Instagram promos.
That'll do it. That'll move some sales. Do you find that people are buying the Kindle version or a physical paperback or hardback version?
In the United States and Canada, they're buying the paperback almost exclusively. And in India, I sell a lot of books in India, and it's all ebook because my book's not available on paperback there.
Yeah, they've got different Amazon locations have different access to printers, and in the future they'll probably have printers. Like right now, I think Australia and Japan don't have color printers. So if you print your book in color, the physical book won't be available in those two countries, at least currently, as of today.
Yeah,
in the future they're looking. I believe Amazon's end game is to have every book ever available worldwide within 2 days, and so they can get access, especially through like the print on demand aspect, so they don't have to actually store those books in different countries. Probably like the simplest question that people probably ask you at the beginning is like, why did you write your book? And I want to just add a little extra on top. Was it in self-defense, or was it more of a book for you, or is it even a different reason?
Well, actually, it's a little of both. Writing the book, and as you know, you've written books, right? You said published them,
Oh,
so
dozens.
much of them. It's therapeutic.
Sometimes it's therapeutic. Sometimes it's a sludge. Is that the word?
Well, it can be. I'm going to do a little writing this afternoon myself, so I follow you there. It's like it takes a little bit of, you got to have some daily motivation for sure. But the main reason I wrote the book, I've been in sales now for 29 years. I started when I was 18 years working for a dealership that sells fire protection equipment. And it was my
Yep.
dad's dealership, actually. I got kind of lucky and I went to work with my parents, branched off. I have my own business now here in Ohio where I live. And I was always into the personal development because when you're in sales, that's what you're taught. Like they keep telling you, hey, you're in this for yourself. You got to be self-taught to a certain degree. The company can only teach you so much, but you better be reading books and you better be listening to different things. And then podcasts came into play later. Back in the day, I'd just buy a set of CDs and listen to it until it wore out. We didn't have all that other stuff when I first started. But now you just pop on YouTube for free and you can listen to Zig Ziglar. He's been gone for years. And you can still get his content on how to sell. It's crazy.
Yep.
So I
It's
learned
pretty
all that stuff.
timeless. Yeah.
No, it really is. And I learned all those things. And then I decided one day, I was like, I'd always had in the back of my mind, it'd be really cool to write a book. I think most people at least think that, like, it'd be cool to write one, right? But just to develop the courage and the self-confidence to actually sit down and say, I'm worthy of something like this. Like people would actually read something that I write. Who am I? I don't really have this big presence other than my inner circle, but I just said, screw it.
Well, it's the worthiness as well as like the daunting task of like hundreds of pages and typos and editing. It's like, whoa, yeah. It's one reason. Like I work with a lot of authors, and it's I still feel that authors are regarded highly because of, wait a minute, you've written a book, you must be like a super expert. You must be so organized to get your thoughts together. So it's this elevated status that authors get simply by being published. And I think people know that, and they're like, they don't feel like, well, I don't feel like I'm that accomplished. Like I can't be an author. And it's like, oh my gosh, get that out of your head, because you can publish a 24-page book tomorrow if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
But it's understated that process, like the gatekeepers are gone now for publishing books.
Yep.
But you do have to get over that and push yourself forward. But the worthy thing is another one that a lot of people struggle with.
Yes. And I had to get over those things, and I did. And I just said, I would like to share with the world some of the things that I have learned, applied in my own life, that worked for me, that have helped me to literally, as the book says, transform your mind, transform your life, is the subtitle. And that's what my wife is like, is the same as me. She's been a big help. She didn't help me write the book, but the concepts in the book, we both use them, and we've both seen them to be very successful, not only with us, but we have a sales team with all of them. It's amazing. Like when people come into my office to go to work for us, my biggest objective is not to make them the best salesperson in the world. My biggest objective is to get them to believe in themselves and to get them to believe in the concepts that are in this book, because I know that if they do that, they are going to be a tremendous salesperson.
Yeah. When it comes to sales, I did 5 years of sales straight out of college for a power tool company. I was good at it in the sense of, like, I believed in our product, but I was a power tool sales rep.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, our $300 drill is like pretty much the same as this other color $300 drill. Like there wasn't a huge difference in the products if you really were being objective and honest about it.
Yeah.
Like we had better. I felt we had better research and development. Like we did, we were like early into ergonomics, and we did a lot of like cutting edge things with the customer in mind, at the expense of being often the most expensive. Like, yes, we are technically better, but are we twice as expensive better when we're drilling holes? But for the person who wanted the best drill on the market, yes, we absolutely had that for. But in a very price competitive market, that could be tough to sell against. So yeah, I don't think you're selling not the exact same type of sales.
No.
But you understand, like, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust, and all these things, and I was certainly good at that.
Yeah.
And like the experience from there could certainly translate into other things. And yeah, it's not just something you can just make somebody. Like, you can't just follow these instructions and you'll be a good salesman. Like, it really doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. You have to have passion. You have to be motivated. And there's so many people these days. This is a sidebar, but I do want to say this. I hear these people, like these professionals that are like public speakers, and they're very like world renowned people. I'm not going to name names, but they're dissing on motivation. And that drives me freaking nuts. Because if I am not motivated, my ass ain't even falling out of bed in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even going to put my shoes and socks on if I'm not motivated, to go out there after the day.
I think people can get a false, I just talked with somebody about this, where you can have like early success and attribute it to the wrong things, whether it's luck or right place, right time, or you just happen to be an early adopter kind of thing. That's happened to me. I've been early on a lot of things. And at the time I thought, I was like, man, I'm like hot stuff. I'm like at the Midas touch here. Everything I do, everybody seems to like. It's like, well, no, just my personality. If I see something new and interesting, and I come from, kind of a low income background growing up, to where like I was always trying to make money, and I had the paper route. I know you had the paper route as well. I'm like, please, can I turn 16 so I can get a real job on my 16th birthday? Not when I turned 16th birthday, I got my job. I'm working on my birthday that night at a sandwich shop. Because I wanted money, because I wanted to buy things and do things. And, this is pre-internet and all very different world back then. Those are all the things that I was motivated by. So when I see, new opportunities around selling on eBay and Amazon, and like, ooh, I'm interested. Ooh, there's print on demand over here. Ooh, there's self-publishing over here. I'm interested just personally, so that I get into it and I'm just excited. Like, I find something interesting, I want to tell other people about it. We have the internet, we have Facebook groups and all these things. So I just start these things, and all of a sudden, like I'm popular kind of several times over. But in hindsight, it's because I was early adopter. And I was able to kind of compound a few strengths of being like, I'm happy to communicate, I'm happy to share. I feel I'm good at communicating kind of why something works and not just what something is.
I can already tell you, just from a little research on you and stuff, that you're very dynamic, and that's why things have worked for you. And you've been willing to try new things too, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fun. It's a little bit of like probably like a diagnosed ADHD type thing. And it's, combining new things, I almost say it's a little bit of a curse, because with the internet and the explosion of technology, and now we're into AI and all this stuff, is like, what can we combine in new ways to either, make money, start a business just for fun, like benefit people somehow. And I just like delving into those things. And sometimes people have to kind of bring me back and be like, hey, we need to focus on, the things that you get done today.
I feel you there.
Over here. So it's fun. It's a great time to be alive, to where you have all of these different options.
I agree. Wholeheartedly.
I've tried to settle into it, and it's my favorite place, as much as I try to get pulled away from it. Like the idea of authorpreneurship, of being able to use a book as a business, for a business, to grow a business, because self-publishing makes it, there's no gatekeepers. It's completely free. It's integrated with the world's largest platform. It's Prime eligible. It's like, there's no downsides to any of it. But people have to get over that. I'm not worthy to write a book. I'm not good enough, or someone already wrote it, or like it can't possibly be free, can it? Like, why would Amazon do that? And I'm like, I'm not making this up. Please just go look on Amazon. Like, you can check me right now if this actually costs money or not. And then, like, well, what can I do? Like, I didn't take a writing class. Like, I didn't major in English. I was like, well, I didn't either.
Right? Me neither, Chris. Chris, I had a D average in high school. I did. I had this lady tell me the other day at a basketball game. She's a real sweet lady that we've known for years. We don't know her family that well, but we know her. And she tapped me on the shoulder and said, my daughter used your book in her thesis or whatever to get accepted into this college, as a book that she's read and stuff. And I looked at the lady and I said, that's crazy. I had a D average in high school. Your daughter's using me as like a reference. I was like, that's crazy.
Well, it's a shifting world to where, like, it was expected to you're expected to go to college when I graduated high school in 1996. Like, and there wasn't the internet where you could like check different things. It was like, that's what you're expected to do. You got good grades, you're going to college. And like, I didn't really question it. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to college. Like, I didn't really have a plan for anything. Now you have options where if you're going to go to college, you can, if you want to learn something on your own. And you mentioned something earlier that I want to get your opinion on, where there's so much information on Google and on Facebook. You can get all this stuff. I would make the case there's too much information. And so, because some of the information is outdated, some of the information is wrong, some of the information was written by AI to try to trend for keywords and nonsense. And I think that books can be kind of the great curation process of like, look, I wrote a book about positive mindset. Now you can go, I don't care. Don't spend the $10. Go on YouTube, watch as much as you want. You won't know what's right. You won't know what's good. You won't know what's outdated.
Right.
But knock yourself out if that's your kind of personality of like, I'm going to research it all myself. I'm going to spend 100 hours into this, or save yourself 100 hours and buy a curated book from an expert, someone who is that you can read the reviews, someone who has a track record, someone you can see if they've been on podcasts, find them on YouTube for $10. Pick their brain and just get what you need to move forward instead of trying to find the secret. There's so many people looking for the secret. What's the secret of the power? There's no secret of the power of positive mindset. The secret is you get the book and stop looking for the secret. But
Absolutely.
It's a mindset thing where people, you have to get them past that and be like, oh, wait, there's no secret. Yeah.
You do. I wish more people would just take a little bit of time each day to either read or listen to a book on Audible on personal development, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be. I think that's another thing, Chris, that people get carried away with in their minds so that they never start reading, is they think, oh, these people, they're readers. They must be sitting there reading all night long. No, they're watching Netflix too. They're just reading first.
Yeah.
Educate.
That's what Nick has in his book. I think Nick wants to write like kind of a follow-up kind of workbook. It's like, how can you just like log your 15 minutes in the morning, in the afternoon? You'll go through 20 books in a year and just keep going, man. Just keep it on track. So I'm trying to get Nick, like, please.
His book was amazing.
Through KDP. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. It's a great title too.
Yeah, it's a great book. A book that teaches you how to read a book. How ingenious is that, really?
He probably thought the idea was like too simple. Like no one needs this. But like,
right.
And those are the types of ideas. I'm like, I love the world of print on demand, whether it's books. They also have for merch and hoodies and T-shirts and all these things. Because you can test. You can put up a T-shirt design on Amazon and see if anybody buys it. If no one buys it, you're like, well, good. I'm glad we didn't buy 1,000 of those to try to sell them.
Exactly.
Same with a book. Be like, hey, I'm writing a book about how to read books. I don't know. And I would make the case that Nick probably would say he wrote that book for himself, right? It's based on his experience, based on all these things. Hey, it helped me. If it can help other people, great. Let me put it out there. If no one buys it, okay.
Exactly.
Not a problem, right? He's not going to like take this huge ego hit. Well, he might take a little ego hit, but like you kind of get over it.
A little one, yeah.
Or it works, or it helps one person, right? And that one person tells someone else. And then all of a sudden, people are using your book to get in, with college applications.
Exactly.
You have to put yourself out there. Like, don't have this fear. And if you have like the negative people in your life who are like, oh, you're not good enough to be an author, be like, all right, I'm gonna remember that come Christmas party time. I might not invite you.
You might not get an autograph copy when it's done, huh?
Yeah, and your book, your first book, my first book. Oh my gosh, typos, problems with the first book.
Yeah.
But second book, third book, fourth book, and I gotta say, I'm pretty good at publishing now.
Yeah.
So there's really no downsides to it. So I wanted to ask you. Well, go ahead.
Just one thing I would say about not just writing a book, not just the goal of writing a book, but any goal. I think you do have to be careful who you tell that you're going to do it. Like, very few people knew that I was writing this book until it was published. I didn't tell hardly anybody. I just kept it to myself and just started writing because I didn't want to deal
for
with
a reason.
Yeah,
like a strategy, or
no, I didn't want to deal with any. No one was going to tell me not to do it. Let's put it that way. So I was just like, I'm just not going to put it out there to people that might do that. So now, second book, I don't have that choice because I now know how to sell books. I've researched it. I can't do that. I have to make it known that I'm writing a second book if I want the thing to pre-sell. And, you know how it is. Sure. I didn't know any of that either. I was just writing a book. So I just didn't want anybody to talk me on it.
You actually kind of stumbled onto a little bit of a psychological strategy that is, I read an article how it's kind of messing people up is when they announce their goals on social media. Because what it does is it makes their brain think that they're taking some actual action. And it's a lot to do with like fitness. Like, hey guys, I'm starting to go to the gym. Or, hey guys, my New Year's resolution is I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And people are like, yeah, cool. Awesome, man. Sounds good.
Yeah.
But what they've done is they've tricked their brain into thinking that they've actually done something.
True.
And then then they can lose a bit of motivation. So like the article is about like, don't announce everything that you're doing. Like, because what happens, we get all those people saying, hey, awesome, you're writing a book. Hey, awesome, you're going to the gym. Hey, awesome. And you're getting this positive feedback, but you haven't done anything.
Yeah, you haven't even started.
And you self-sabotage yourself. And I'm sure it's not universal for everybody. But when I read that, I was like, you know what? I've done that.
So
I've then not done what I said I was going to do.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's directly that, but and I'm not going to start announcing all my grand plans.
Yeah.
Until they're done, because you might as well just do it and then announce it.
Right. I'm pretty sure it's in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. If it's not in that book, it's in another one I just read about Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. I just read that one in January. Good book to start the year with, by the way, because it's about goals. But one of them talks about I'm pretty sure it's James Clear, but 18 days. New Year's resolutions, most people make it to January 18th. They do these averages. Science can prove anything, right? But sure. 18 damn days, dude, is when people make it, and then they stop doing whatever they said they were going to do.
How do you think the 18 days compares or works with your 90 days, right? Because that's one thing about your book is the 90-day thing. And yes. I've heard a lot of people talk about, the power of motivation and willpower. And this is something I kind of stumbled upon when I wrote my book, The Authorpreneur Blueprint, because, a lot of people, if they want to do something, they're kind of not seeing the results that they want. And I'm probably not the first, but I kind of I feel I invented this on my own. And if you're not seeing the results that you want, it's because of the actions that you're taking, right? So your actions are leading to your results.
That's right.
But your actions are based on your beliefs.
Yes.
Right. Now, if your beliefs are not aligned with your actions, you're not going to see the results. And if you try to just willpower your way to action to get the results, you're eventually going to burn out. You're eventually going to lose because they don't align with your beliefs. You have your beliefs, but your actions don't align with it. Is it 18 days of maximum willpower? Or is it something else where you have to go through 90? So tell me a little bit about the 90-day and what the intentional strategy is behind that, instead of dude, just read this book today. It's only 12 pages and you get motivated. Why doesn't that work?
For me, the 90-day thing, I wasn't sure if I was going to do 60 or 90 when I first started, because to be quite frank with you, it's a daunting task to think about. Imagine a book that you write that has 12 chapters. You have to come up with 12 chapters, 12 names, 12 subjects. I had to come up with 90. Now, by the way, I'm writing a second book right now, 90 more. 90 more.
I'm impressed with the first 90. I'm super impressed with the second.
And by the way, it's been so fluent already in the writing. I'm having no trouble coming up with topics. It's weird. It's the craziest thing in the world. But you think about the world, how many topics are there you could write about? There's thousands and thousands, probably millions. So it's not as hard as you think, but it's daunting at first thing. The 90-day challenge to me side of this book is, and this is the thing, I think I got to get better at marketing it too, to be honest with you, because I think a lot of people that just look at this when it goes into the bookstores, I am using a publisher now soon. We're already signed a contract. So the bottom line with this book, though, is that the 90-day thing, I'll just answer that. The reason I think it's doable is because it's small increments each day. I'm not asking you to read for 30 minutes even. It takes 5 minutes. I have this thing out on Audible, and I listen to it every single day, 3 times. I just continue to go through it because these are principles that work. I know they work, so I want to continue to run myself. So I hired a guy to do it on Audible. I didn't do it myself. I didn't have the equipment, so I didn't do it. But at any rate, I listen to it every day. It takes 3 to 5 minutes a day for this guy to read a day to me. 3 to 5 minutes a day. Anyone can do that. And that's a lot of the response that I'm getting, Chris, from people when they're reading this book is one person on Amazon said, who can read this book? Anyone. Because it's 3 to 5 minutes a day. And anyone can do that, and anyone can find time. But that's why I feel like I need to do a better job of advertising. I think people need to know that before they even research it. I'm only asking you for 3 to 5 minutes a day for 90 days. And that's why I think it works. But James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, Chris, this is a scary thought. He says that they used to think it took 21 days to develop a habit. It's now way more proven. It's 3 times that. It's 66 days. So on day 66 on this book, they finally developed the habit of reading it. That scares me.
This is all, I'm just thinking of this as a marketer. So I'm like, these are your new ads, right? Just 3 to 5 minutes a day. Like James Clear was wrong. Imagine the ad, James Clear was wrong, right? Everybody in the personal development space knows who James Clear is. Yeah. And even if James Clear is admitting, hey, I was wrong. I thought it was 18. I thought it was 21. It's actually 66. You're not calling him out in a bad way.
Right.
You're getting attention, saying James Clear was wrong. Even if you say I was accidentally right, my book works because it's 90 days and it's past the 66 days, which James Clear now verifies is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, James Clear wrote that in his book. That's where I learned that, by the way. He says he's the one that said the 66. He said they used to think it was 21, though. Yeah, you're right. So he said basically we were all wrong.
Yeah, the marketing just kind of writes itself. It's super easy. Like, do you explain this in the book of like, hey, there's a reason this is 90 days. I'm not trying to like stretch
Explain it
this
in the
out. I'm not trying to get
introduction.
in your life for 3 months.
In the
But
introduction, I do kind of explain that a little bit, yes. But they got to have, you know what I mean? They've had to go a little further to even get to the point where they're reading the intro. They've either had to buy the copy or take a sample on, you know what I mean? And the sample on the Audible book is not even the introduction. It's one of the days that I really liked. So, you know, I do need to market that better. I think I could get more people interested in reading it if I did.
well, I don't know what you kind of contract you have in terms of like how much of your book you can give away. I know sometimes they get weird, like you can't give away too many chapters as a freebie or whatever, but like the free like sample type stuff of like, this is what you're going to get. This is why we're doing this. And then when you're ready, here's the link to Amazon. Because like being the Authorpreneur podcast, and we want to get into, you know, using books for business and for marketing.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to see, or I want to get I just want to have a better understanding of how you're using your book as well as your other business.
Mhm.
Because are they overlapped right now? Your fire protection business with your 90-day because it's kind of a separate brand, right?
It is a separate brand, but the thing of it is the industry that I am in, this is huge for it. Like company wide, the supplier, the company that buy the products from, there's a whole bunch of reps all over the country, and especially in the United States and Canada. And almost all of them have a copy of the book now. So yes, I definitely wrote it to help our own industry because it really does. It's like salespeople. The biggest thing we have is our attitude. I mean, if our attitude goes sour, our sales go sour, as you know, from when you were selling for 5 years, and you're still selling now.
Sure.
It's just
Everybody is.
yourself. Yeah, I mean, but the bottom line is if we don't have our attitude and we don't have the right mindset, we might as well not even get out of bed in the morning because it's not going to be, we're not going to live the life we want to live. So yes, I've helped, like I have these small groups that I do too with the book. Those are all people that are in my industry. The small groups that I've done so far, they're people that I've hired, brought to the business. Now they have their own dealerships and their own offices. So I'm using this book. We have a weekly Zoom call that we do with a couple of different groups actually are doing it now. And we go through the last 7 days. We talk about how it could impact our life, how it could impact our sales, how it could impact our businesses. So we are using that. I do think that's a direction that I can take this, by the way, a secondary thing where I can run 90-day courses with Zoom calls. Yeah. A paid course, yes. Yep.
Have you run this as like an actual challenge, like a 90-day challenge? Like the official start to finish kind of thing?
Yeah, with people that I know, yes. Like I was still kind of testing the waters because it's like I told you before, it's the first time I've done anything like this. So I didn't really understand any of it. So the more I grip it, the more I read it myself and listen to it every day and work with other people that are reading it and realize, like the more I see like a social media post, just today, a lady put something on social media about my book. Like just out of the blue. She said something about day 5 in his book talks about changing the channel, the power of a positive mindset. And somebody posted something and she put that in the comments like, yeah, I learned in the book. So there's tons of strategies in it that another thing, sidebar, I started doing some speaking and I started right here at the local level. I've spoken at the University of Findlay for their golf team and for the men's basketball program already. I've done too. And I've got invited to go in and speak to some of the educators there as well now. Don't even have a college degree. And I'm going to be going in and talk. The point is, I take points from this book for those speeches. Does that make sense?
Oh, of course. It's easy.
The content's already there. So I just go in and use it. And then I give away books. I gave away books to every single senior on the golf team and every senior on the basketball team. And I give a lot of books away, by the way. I give books away all the time, every single week. I shipped out 5 books yesterday. I give them away. I haven't given away as many as sold, but I've given away hundreds of books. Hundreds of them.
Well, that's one thing I like about self-publishing is the low cost to give it away versus the higher perceived cost. You know, and I refer to having like an anchor price on Amazon of $19.95, $14.95, and depending how long your book is. You know, if you're using KDP, Amazon Self-Service Publishing. You know, a short, like 100-page book can cost as little as like $2.30. You know, you got some tax and shipping to get to. Like for $3 or even $4, where you get a 250, 300-page book, you can give somebody something that's on Amazon for $20.
I know.
And they don't look at it as like, oh, I see you there, Jason. I understand that you have an author cost. They're not thinking that at all. They're thinking this is $20 on Amazon.
That's right.
That's all they're thinking. And like, thank you so much. You're able to give away $20 bills for $4.
I know. I love it.
And the marketing aspect of it, just everything, just I don't know. It's just such a
Well, and
I won't say
Amazon will even
shortcut, but
ship them to their door for you. Like you don't even have to ship them if you don't. They ship them, and it is cheaper if you've done it both ways. It's a lot cheaper to just use them to ship
have
it.
are you doing it through author copies, or are you just buying it from
I'm
Amazon
doing
and
it through
shipping?
author copies, and then it takes me right into my Amazon account, and I can send them. And it costs about $7 total, $7.50, I think, to send someone a free book.
$3.59 flat rate, unless Hawaii or Alaska is $5.59.
I didn't even know that. I haven't sent one there yet.
It is, and this works in every country. Have you ever done an international order?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have.
So
I sent some to the UK for sure.
I love Australia, for Pete's sakes. Like I shipped somebody a copy of my Authorpreneur Blueprint, which is a textbook, right? It's humongous. To Australia, like no. In Australia, they printed it and shipped it. Like total cost was like under like $15. So it's a little more expensive for this full. Like it's like 500 pages.
It's a
it's
big book,
hardcover.
yeah.
But yeah, Australia doesn't do color at the moment, so I'm sure they'll update that at some point.
But they won't do color on your cover of your book either.
No, it's color cover, but
Oh,
they won't do color interior.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of color. It's just blue and black and white.
Yeah,
Kept it pretty simple.
it's a good looking book, actually.
It's the one book I hired a designer to make a cover, but I highly edited it. I took his thing and said, "Okay, I kind of get what you're doing here, but I'm gonna make it my own way."
You're a DIY.
I try not to overthink
it.
I to me, the cover, I would make the case for a lot of self-published authors that, because I'm in a lot of self-publishing groups where people are publishing a lot of fiction and like stuff in the romance, right? The cover does need to stand out in a sea of all kinds of other things.
Right.
But to me, if you're publishing your own book and you're building your own audience and you're speaking and you're giving your book away, the actual cover doesn't actually matter, because they're going to connect with you because they've seen you. Like, they're not going to Amazon and searching. Like having a great cover, which your cover looks great. It's simple, it's bold, like people understand what it's about by listening. But I just don't want people to get caught up and not put something out because they're overthinking the cover. And I can't afford a designer, and I don't want to learn how to use Canva or Photoshop. And I'm like, you're
what I use
this
for my cover? 99 designs.
Yeah,
I had like 400 designs sent to me.
I always feel bad. This is the ADHD in me. Because I see everybody making designs, and I'm only going to pick one, and like I feel bad for all of the other people who did this work. I'm like, can I give them all like $5 or $10 or something?
I felt the same way, Chris. I did, but at the same time, I was like, this is what they do. They chose to do it. That's do it. But I just kept narrowing it down and finally got it.
Check this book out.
That's very simple, but it gets the point across, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he sells his own books, right? His books aren't on Amazon; he sells them direct. But Derek Sivers, if you haven't heard of Derek Sivers, he's an amazing author. My camera would focus,
but it's just a little bit more. Pull it back. There you go. Nice. It's clear as the day. There you go. That looks on How to Live 27 Conflicting Answers in One Weird Conclusion by Derek Sivers. Did you say?
Yep, Derek Sivers. He founded CD Baby, which was like a music distribution company, and then he sold it for he says a ton of money to where he doesn't have to work anymore. Nice. So he started getting into writing books, and he sells his books direct. And I like the way he sells them, because if you buy direct from his website, he will give you the digital version, he will give you the audio version. I think he gives these other perks, and he actively says, Amazon and Jeff Bezos don't need any more of my money, so buy it from me. But he leaves it on Amazon. Say, look, if you want to buy it from Amazon, you can. And honestly, I prefer buying a lot of my stuff from Amazon because it's fast. It's the lowest price. I know it's not going to be messed up. I'm not loyal to Amazon and I want to give them money, but I do like that process. So I'm not hey, take your stuff off of Amazon. I think that's a mistake for a lot of authors. I think you would miss out on a lot of customers by doing that. But you should certainly sell them direct.
I think the publisher told me that. Gosh, don't quote me exactly, but it's somewhere around 35% of their sales, even as a publishing company, still come from Amazon sales.
Oh, sure.
The books, from having them on the Amazon platform. I mean, that's where I buy it. Almost everything now. The shirt that I'm wearing, I bought on Amazon.
Was that through merch by Amazon?
I don't know. My wife got it for me, but I know she bought it on Amazon.
So Amazon has a self-service, completely free.
It really was from that.
It was called Merch by Amazon. Now it's called Amazon Merch on Demand. And they have T-shirts, and they have hoodies, they have cell phone cases and pop sockets.
You can create what you want it to say and then sell it on their platform.
upload any design that you want.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
you have to have rights, of course. You can't go putting up like, University of Kentucky logos, what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Right.
But so you could have your book cover, right, or just the title of your book, or your favorite quotes out of it on a shirt. It's
Cool.
on Amazon, and like I say, you can test it. If nobody buys it, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? But it's available men's, women's, children's sizes, like all different colors,
And
Prime
they
eligible,
print
free
them.
returns. What's that?
Then they print the shirt like they do my book and send it for you. You don't even have to do nothing.
They have printers the size of a car that print 2 shirts at a time. They have a multiple football field sized warehouses full of these printers. They bought so many printers, they had to like file a thing with like the SEC because they were going to be such a big customer of this company that makes these printers. That like, we have to declare what's going on here. And they have boxes of blanks, and you get the order, tells them what blank to put in the printer. The printer knows what design to print. It prints it on the spot, puts it in a bag, ships to the customer.
Bet you anything that's where this came from. I bet you anything.
It looks like a merch by Amazon shirt.
I would guess. It really does look like something they just printed on there real quick and sent it out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's a great way to test. It's a great way for anybody with any type of attention or audience or influence to have a way to monetize, to say, hey, look, if you want to support the show, we've got a whole t-shirt. You see it like on YouTube. Here's hoodies and t-shirts. It doesn't match. Like, why would I buy a t-shirt from this channel? Like, but they're doing it because they're like, well, how else are we going to make any money? Right. So let's add a merch store.
Trying to monetize it. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I understand. And it's a great way to monetize if, you have the right audience that wants to buy your t-shirt. I think like the quotes from your book would make a great store where people can go in and say, like, what's your favorite quote? And could you imagine your store where you could go in and say, hey, everybody, what's your favorite shirt? Link down below. I'm going to pick 3 people. I'm going to send them their shirt. And, for $50 cost to buy 3 things from Amazon without touching a thing. Amazon's going to do all the work. You make 3 people really happy. You get tons of engagement on your post.
No problem.
Drive other people back to the site.
Themselves with it on.
Yes. Send me a picture with it. Use it for social media for promotion. Like, there's so many things you can do. And could you imagine what this would take before print on demand? Like, oh, let me order enough t-shirts to get a quantity discount where it's reasonable for me to even bother. Store them in my garage.
Chris, I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for KDP Publishing, if I didn't learn at least a little bit about it first, there's no way I would have took on in the 80s. There is 0% chance I would have wrote a book. I would have just been like, no way.
There were gatekeepers.
Distribution and costs and all that stuff where I didn't have to worry about it.
No, that's what I like about self-publishing. It's why I will talk to anybody that will listen about self-publishing, especially when I see like a business where they're like, oh my gosh, please put the top 10 things that people need to know before they get into your business and use that as a lead magnet. And they're like, what? Lead magnet? What are you talking about? Like, they're not marketers, they're business owners. So I'm like, please let me help you with having a book as a lead magnet for your business. Because there's just so many things, that you can do. But we went down this huge rabbit hole after like talking about the challenge. Like you would kill it with a 90-day challenge. I would make short content. I've done challenges before. We do like, an hour a day for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 week, depending on what we're teaching. I wouldn't do an hour a day for 90 days.
No,
you're doing something shorter, 5-10 minutes every day, accountability group, like get people on a streak and focus on the power of streaks. And then, like a challenge is by the end of the challenge, you will X, Y, and Z. And everybody that gets all the way to the end of the challenge with you, that's going to be like the 80-20 of your customer base, where the 20% are going to want more. Like, Jason, what you got? What's more, man? I want to keep this going. Like, you have a membership. And you're like, actually, I do have a membership. Here's how you can join for anybody, and everybody else. You have access to the 90-day replays. Knock yourself out. And you use it kind of for the marketer as the value ladder, the free, the $10, $100, $200, whatever you want to do. Right. And you'll find people who are like, Jason, can you just be like my mentor, man? Like, I'll pay you a lot of money. And you'll be like, I guess. You can read my book and implement it.
Yeah. But I know a lot of people that use business coaches, and those business coaches had to have come from somewhere, and they charge a premium.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can charge a premium because you've got the street cred. You've done it. I mean, that's, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I hesitate to be like, look, I'll help you. Like, I'll give you the one-on-one help, like for a high ticket, like coaching package. But at the same time, I'm like, or you can just do what I've told you to do 500 times for free. Right. Like, if they don't pay, it's one of the things I like least about marketing is people who pay pay attention. And I wish people would pay attention
True.
without having to pay. And I've thought of trying to find like a course or something like, here, buy my book, and after you read it, I'll give you your money back. But like, if I just give you the book, it's going to just sit on your desk and you're not going to read it because you're not invested, right? You don't have any skin in the game. But
True.
man, if you paid $5,000 for a book, I bet you're going to read it. I bet
Yeah.
100% you're going to read it. You're not going to let it sit there and be like, oh, I'll get around to that someday.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's kind of a plan that you have, is to have, a higher value ladder. But like, a challenge would be a great way to get there. It's something you
that's
run
another
once or
just
twice
what
a year.
I'm very interested in doing, because I do think that the challenge is the way you really get people to stay focused on it, and you can actually make the true impact that you desired when you wrote the book. And I do have my desire is to help people to think differently, because I know so many people that just don't. They just don't have the right mindset, and they're like their glass is always half empty. And you gotta it just takes a little tilt and a few little things each day, habits that change that mindset. And all of a sudden that same person wakes up and they go, oh my God, it's half full. It hasn't been half empty my whole life. It's been half full. I've been looking at it all wrong. That's where I'm
How
trying
do you get people there? How do you, because I mean, I would make the case that the longer somebody has a mindset, whatever that mindset is, whether it's limiting or not, it's hard to change because you've got
It is.
so much kind of history of like, this is
Yes.
how I've seen things, this is how I've been raised, this is how I've been taught, this is what I've done.
Yep.
And changing it is like a shock.
It is, and I think the way, that's why when you say the challenge thing, that's why I'm doing that with some of these small groups. I'm testing the market. I've seen some pretty big impact with some people within my organization that I'm working with. Like they're definitely getting there over time. It takes time. But you're right, it does take time. And if they take their nose out of this book and stop after day 18, like they suggest in one of those books I read, like 18 days, it's, granted, they got 18 days worth of information and it's good, but they're probably not going to change their mindset after 18 days. I think it's going to take a couple reads through this, maybe taking half of a year and doing, the 90, then do it one more time, do it a second 90. And I think by that time, the principles are starting to kick into their head, and they're sort of you see, we have to take these things from we have to take them from a conscious level almost to a subconscious level, where my positivity now is subconscious. I've done it for so long, I don't have to think about being positive anymore. I just wake up and I'm like, it's going to be a great day.
That's the story. That's what people, I think, need to hear, is like, wait a minute, this guy wasn't just always positive from like,
It was not.
when he was a little kid, and like and not just what it was, because I think if people hear what it was, it's like, oh, well, then I just need to go do what he did. And it's like, no, this is a process. It takes a lot of time. And it gives me this idea of this belief thing where it's like, I almost think if the first page of your book was, do you believe this is actually going to work? And if they don't answer like an enthusiastic yes, then you need to tell them, look, it's okay if you said no. Like, if you actually don't believe this is going to work, I understand. Lots of people don't think this is going to work. But if you don't believe it's going to work, I guarantee it's not going to work.
You won't.
So over time, I want you to keep coming back to this book until you put in an enthusiastic yes, where you actually believe it. Now, don't just write yes on this paper because you think it's magic.
Yeah.
You have to actually believe it. And if you have trouble with this, if you struggle with this, it's okay. I understand. I've been there. Other people have been there. That's why I created the 90-day challenge, because there are two ways. I would love to help market this.
We can definitely talk offline too on this, and I'd be interested in talking to you more for sure. Absolutely. You've got some great ideas. I can already tell.
I'm a book marketer at heart, if I had to describe myself.
You're giving me a lot of really, really cool ideas already. I'll be honest with you.
Well, then I am super excited, because that is what my goal is for the Authorpreneur podcast, is to learn what other people are doing really well as give advice, because there's so many things that people don't realize. Like I'm glad you know about author copies. Most people don't. Even KDP authors, they think, oh, you have to order like 50. They're only for you, and you can't do X, Y, and Z with them. I'm like, you can order one copy and send it to whoever you want. Send it to Jeff Bezos at Amazon headquarters.
Hey, by the way, I sent Zig Ziglar was one of my, I don't use the word idol very often, but he was not an idol, but he was a mentor from a distance. I only met him a couple of times at some conferences. So, he was very popular in the sales world. Have you ever heard of him or not?
Oh, my favorite Zig Ziglar thing was, you can get whatever you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And I to me, that just, I don't need to hear anything else from Zig Ziglar other than that, in terms of just help other people.
Yes.
Like, so that's, and the fact that I like talking about book marketing and I can help other people with that. Yes, let me do that all day long,
Yeah.
knowing that, like, hey, if we do business together, great. If we don't, I'll do business with someone else. Like, it's very freeing instead of, I'm losing my voice, instead of like, oh, I have to sell myself to Jason. I have to like convince him to work with me. And it's like,
right.
no, I don't want to convince anybody to do anything.
So I took the Ziegler story. I bought an author copy. Okay, I probably bought like 50 at that time, whatever. I buy like 50 at a time for me. Like if I give
That's
a
the
lot
best price
away,
break, 50. Yeah.
Yeah, I buy them a lot of times and just give them away locally. Like if somebody smiles at me at a drive-through window, I go back the next day with a book. I'm not kidding you. I have a black marker in my hand. I ask them their name and I write them a nice. But I sent one of those to Tom Ziegler, Zig's son. I have no idea if Tom even opened the box. But I sent him. I opened the front copy. I order hardcovers for stuff like that. You know, I have the hardcover mainly so I can get them when I want them. But that has more room to write. You know what I'm saying? When you first open the hardcover, it doesn't have the title right away. So I wrote a big long message about how much his dad influenced my life, and he may never ever open the book. That's his thing, not mine. But I wanted him to know that your dad's quotes are in this book. Your dad influenced me, and I wanted you to know that. But Tom Ziegler also runs Ziegler Corporation now, and I thought to myself, well, that could be a good ally someday.
Sure.
For him, if he ever just said this is a good book, it'd sell 1,000 copies.
Did they ever write back or they acknowledge it or anything?
No, I got nada.
They get a lot. I've been talking with Nick about we're trying to put together some great content around what we call the 100% open rate, and that's sending somebody your book from Amazon. And you can just send your book, depending on like why you're trying to do this. If you're trying to network or like get on someone's podcast or something, I would say send them a second book. You know, something. Yeah, hey, I really like this book. I think you would like it. That way, it doesn't come across as completely self-promotional. Because you can, if you have their address, you can send them anything from Amazon. And when an Amazon package shows up, it has a 100% open rate. Nobody gets an Amazon package and is like, oh, I don't remember ordering anything. And they throw it out. Like,
They're still opening it.
I would rather ship something from Amazon so it comes in Amazon branded packaging than send it myself. And they like, oh, this is probably just someone who's trying to like get on our show. I knew someone who did that with barbecue sauce. They were trying to get their barbecue sauce into a restaurant. So they sent bottles of their own barbecue sauce to the restaurant, tracked it, followed up with them later. It's like, hey, you wonder why you got bottles of barbecue sauce sent? It's from me. I hope you like it. And it opens the door in a way that like a cold call on the phone isn't going to do it.
For sure.
And it's
yourself.
It's not free, but I would rather do that than run Facebook ads if you don't know what you're doing and just wasting thousands of dollars and be like, I got a bunch of clicks, but no sales. Be like, dude, you should have just spent thousands of dollars giving your book away.
Exactly.
But that's the secret that if I had to say I had a secret, I would say for authors, write your book in such a way that you benefit even if you give the book away. Because then you can just give the book away. Even if they just follow you on social media, they join your email list, they like anything so you're able to give your book away. Because for the most part, I would make the case that you shouldn't be trying to make money on your book. You're trying to make money with your book, or you're trying to build your business with your book.
Well, it's difficult to make money on your book unless it's got to go viral. Really, for you to make big money, it would have to just go viral.
Or sell your book for $300. I launched a book. I don't even know if I have a copy of it here. I'm sure I do somewhere. My online arbitrage book. So this is a book I wrote about buying products online that you can then resell on Amazon for a profit. And this was the first book that I did that I would call a course as a book. So you can sell an online course. And of course, I had the same content on Udemy as a course. You could watch the videos and all that. And it was $300 on Udemy. But I was like, you know what? I could like password protect these videos and I could make these videos unlisted. And I've got all the chapters and I wrote it all out. And it was similar. It was textbook size, 500 pages. But it was an online course sold through a book with QR. This is 2014 with QR codes, which like nobody knew what QR codes were. I had to have a whole chapter explaining what QR codes were and how to use them. You had to download a separate app to do QR codes back then. It wasn't built into anything. Sold the book. I didn't do like pre-orders, but I hyped it up in my Facebook group. And like, I didn't know if it was going to work. I even asked them, how much you guys think I should charge for this? A lot of people were like, it sounds like a $300 course because, it's about making money. So I'm like, okay. So I put it was at the time, you can't do $300 for a book anymore. It was back when it was CreateSpace, where you could actually price a book for which I'm so upset at myself for not selling a book for $3,000 at the time, even if it never sold, just to have it up there.
Have it listed.
So I didn't have to sell that many copies to get a nice, I think my royalty check for the launch of that book, it was over $70,000 for the launch of that book. but it was because my royalty was like $145 for every single book.
Right.
Right. So that can add up pretty quick if you do like a proper launch and you have, an engaged audience. But I agree with you. If you're trying to make money on a $10, $12 book, no, just consider it zero. Consider it like Dunkin' Donuts money. If you actually make money, you can go to Dunkin' Donuts at the end.
Yep.
But you can use your book to grow that email list, to establish authority, to get speaking gigs and podcast placement.
Yep.
That's what you're using the book for.
Yeah, I wasn't.
So write your book in such a way.
When I consider myself having a PhD in sales. I mean, I've studied every angle you can even imagine about psychology, sales, how to talk to people, how to deal with people, how to motivate people, how to lead people, all that stuff. But I was never once asked to be on a podcast for any of those things until I wrote the book.
Yeah. It's a shortcut. Podcast. I'll give you a shortcut. This is something we're about to talk about. I don't want to forget, because I do think there is a shortcut to changing your beliefs. And the bad news is it's usually because of some traumatic event. It's losing a parent. It's divorce. It's bankruptcy. It's something incredibly negative that all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, I got to get my life together. Oh shoot, I got to do it. That's the shortcut. Unfortunately, the option is it's going to take time. It's going to take 90 days or 66 days or whatever it is. And I think if people understand that, I've thought of that frequently, of like, like when I say I'm going to change something or do something and I don't, and I'm like, do I need to like manufacture a traumatic event in order for me to like do this? And I don't want to manufacture a traumatic event. That's a terrible idea. Yeah. But when you understand that and you say, okay, the alternative is you have to be disciplined and work on this for X number of days. And if you mess up, you're gonna have to start over. But at least having that plan or that knowledge to where you take away in my opinion, take away the self-blame of like, oh, you screwed up, or you're never going to figure this out. It's like, well, there are things working against you. Your 40 plus years of psychology is working against you as you now come in and try to change your mindset. Your mindset isn't looking to change. Changing your mindset requires energy, rewiring neurons, like things that your brain is not trying to do. Absolutely. So you got to overcome that. But to me, the understanding of it makes it easier. So again, it takes away that self-blame of like, oh, I'm such a failure. It's like, no, like this is hard. You know what? I'm gonna keep going. And I've heard from this other person, it took them 18 tries. And I don't want to take 18, but I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you understand that, it can help.
And one of the things about the premise of this book is, I've read other books on mindset. One that comes to mind is the Greatness Mindset by Lewis Howes. Great book. Tons of science, tons of medical research in the book. This book is about my experiences, real stuff that I have done personally that work. Now, don't get me wrong. Did I back some of it with absolutely. I got research in here. I've got some medical things, especially for mental health, the mental health benefits of certain things. I definitely did some research. Don't get me wrong, but I spoke more about my life and how I was able to do this because I overcame some major anxiety and depression in my life. I was a miserable human being in my late 20s. I was still existing, but that's all I was doing. And I overcame all of it by using these things. So you're right. Did it happen overnight? Absolutely not. It took me a long time. It was a slow and steady race. But now it's like permanent. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's who I am now. And that is what I want to help people to understand. And I like that you're on that same wavelength. I think you and I think a lot alike, and I think there's a reason that Nick wanted us to meet one another.
Nick was excited. He was like, yeah, you guys are going to get along well. I was like,
well, he's right. I really like you a lot. And your energy is infectious, and I love that. That's the kind of person I love talking to. It's just fun.
This is great. I could talk all day.
Yes.
And it will surely have you on as a repeat guest on the Authorpreneur podcast.
Well, the next book, right? We got to do the next book.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, to me, it sounds like the next book should be something about like the timing that it's going to take and like sharing your experience of like this does take, this isn't going to be instant. This is going to take a little bit of time, backing that up with all these, real examples so people can understand it. Because I feel like there's that's what's out there in the marketplace right now is people think they can fix things overnight. They're like, oh, this is what's wrong with you, so do this. And it's just not backed up by anything practical. I don't really want to care about like science and all this study, because different people, everybody's different depending on what you believe and how you see the world. It's going to be kind of a different path for you to
Well, like you said
change some
earlier,
things.
your beliefs determine who you are. So you can't, we're not asking people to change their beliefs either. We're just trying to ask people to think differently and use your beliefs to your advantage.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I used to hate the term limiting beliefs because I was like, oh, is that all it is? I'm just limiting myself. I have limiting beliefs. But like I understand where it comes from now. It's like, oh, wait a minute. What I'm believing is actually just getting in the way of what I want to believe. It's easy to say I want to believe something.
Right.
But if you don't actually believe, you don't actually have it internalized. And changing your internalized beliefs
That's true.
is difficult. I would make the case. I mean, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but yeah, I'm sure 90 to multiple years to actually and I think people should look back at their life and be like, what did I believe at 18 that I don't necessarily believe now, and realize it's okay to change what you believe. Like no one's saying changing a belief is changing your identity or like calling you out for like, oh, you used to believe something wrong or stupid or dumb, or like no one cares about any of that.
You believe what
But
you
look back at
believe
what you believe as a
based on the
kid.
information you had at the time.
Yeah. Now you have more information, so you should improve. You should refine. Maybe refine. Maybe it's not about like right versus wrong beliefs. It's like let's improve and refine our beliefs so that they're serving us, and identify like, hey, these beliefs that we have, whether we have them for a good reason or not, they're not necessarily serving us. So let's identify those, and then do the work, the work that will take time to change those beliefs and have those beliefs, serve us in a better way. Without making the beliefs about good or bad.
Right.
Like we're just put like a belief can't be good or bad. Like it's just a thing. Right. So like let's not assign these things to it. So yeah, so we're getting close to wrapping up. So I'll let you like what are your plans for your next book? And have they changed after our call here?
But possibly. What's changed more than anything is probably the direction I want to take with both the first and second book after, like having a program. I've been thinking about it, and I've been test marketing it with some colleagues and friends and stuff, and it is working. It does make an impact. I think it will be even different for just a reader who I don't know. I think that these people that I'm working with already kind of believe the same way that I do. You know what I'm saying? They're already kind of there. I've been mentoring them for years, all of them. The ones that are in my group now, they already know me. They've been around me. The infection is already spread to them, I want to work with people that are not there yet. That is a big goal of mine. My purpose is to help people think more positive every day. And I can't do that if I'm only working with people that I've already worked with. I need some new people to work with. And so that's a goal for sure. But the second book that I'm writing, it's funny because I started writing a second book. I've got an introduction done in 3 chapters on another book that I ended up shelving. I just saved the manuscript. I'm going to write that book later. It's a good book. It's a good start, but it's about how anxiety, stress led to anxiety in my life that led to depression. And it's a whole different topic than this. So what people are really asking me for is kind of a sequel, if you will, or another book, 90 more days. Let's keep this flow going instead of reading this over and over and over. So that's what I'm doing. And I don't know what the title is going to be yet, because you know how it is. You want to search titles, and I still have a lot of research to do on the title. But if I could title it what I wanted to and not be infringing on another book that's already out there that's doing well, I would call it The Power of Positive Habits. The second book that I'm writing is about habits, because this book right here is also about habits. It is. Ultimately, that's all it is. It's 90 days worth of things that you could be doing in your life to make an impact and to change your mindset. So the second book, I'm just digging deeper and saying, this is why. And that sort of is what I'm doing. This is how I was able to make this work, is by learning what my bad habits were, figuring out some better ones. See, this is the thing. The premise of the book is we all have habits, right? All of us. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. We all have bad habits. We all have good. There's only so much room in your life for habits. There's only so much room in a time in a day. We have to get rid of some of the bad ones if we want to add new ones that are better and improved. So the premise of my second book is helping people to realize we've got some bad habits that we need to eliminate from our lives so that we can put some new and better habits, and then, really then, and only then, learn to live with a more positive mindset. So it is a sequel, if you will. It's kind of a, hey, let's keep this thought process going. It's almost kind of what you said it should be. And it just hit me that it actually is that. It took you saying that, by the way, for me to even think that it really is kind of, this is how I did it. This is how I did all the things that are in here and got consistent. I developed new habits instead of these old crappy ones that weren't serving me well.
Yeah.
Well, that's in a nutshell.
Well, we'll look forward to that. If I can help you promote it, I mean, by all means, just reach out. I wrote down a couple book titles
later, bud, because I got some things I want to ask you about. And I'm even, if you have a program where I could be a customer, I'm interested. You've got me interested. You have my attention. You have a lot of knowledge that I don't have on these things. I can tell just from talking to you. You know more about marketing these things than I do. And I will be reaching out to you, and I think I will be working with you some.
Oh, that'll be good. I'll throw a couple book titles at you just so, just while we're here. Infectious Positivity.
I'm going to write this.
Or Intentional Positivity, or Intentional Habits, or Infectious Habits. You use the word infectious, so it's like, it sounds good. I'm a domain guy, so I've already checked. Infectious Positivity is already taken. It's for sale, but it is taken. I think it's on a make offer.
What was the second thing you said? Infectious Positivity, and what else?
Intentional Positivity.
I love
maybe
it.
Intentional Habits is a better way to do it.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of ends. What's today? 3. Okay, I'll send you something after the show.
You and I are going to talk more after this. I guarantee you. I'm going to pick your brain and just find out what you offer and stuff too. I'm curious.
All right, yeah, we'll definitely let's chat a little bit. After the show, but let's give everybody that's listening here, people who want to know more about you, where can they find you to find out what you're currently doing?
Very good. Thank you for the opportunity to do that. I have a website. It's just jasonwolbersmotivation.com. My name, motivation at the end.com. Okay. I also have social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And I don't use all of them religiously. I use if you really want to look me up on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Really, Facebook and Instagram are the ones I use the most. It's Jason Wolbers Motivation.
Or just search for your book on Amazon. You're going to be the #1 result.
There you go.
So nice and easy to find. So Jason, thanks so much for joining. This was super awesome.
I agree.
I'm excited to have everybody listen in, and hopefully they can benefit as well from what we talked about today.
Well, Chris, thank you for the opportunity. It was wonderful spending some time with you today.
We'll both give a shout out to Nick for the connection. Thanks, Nick.
100%. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Authorpreneur Podcast. If you'd like more information about this episode's guest, you can find links to their books, websites, and social media profiles in the show notes and video description. If you're an author or business owner who's interested in learning more about how you can use books and published author status to market and grow your business or personal brand, or if you're an aspiring author looking for more information about the publishing process, you can find more information and request an author audit at authorpreneur.com. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to recommend someone, please reach out via email to chris@authorpreneur.com. Remember, a book is just a book, but when it's your book, it's an asset. #Authorpreneur.